All right, all right. How's it going? How's it going, everybody? This is Powell Chee here. We're going to do our self-storage investing live today. And let's see, we got a few people on joining me as well. Let's see, I don't have any guest speakers today. Last week we had a guest speaker. We had Evelyn Ling come on as a guest. But this week we'll be talking about due diligence. So that's what will be our topic today. We're going over on-site due diligence, things like that. So if you guys just give me 1 second, I'll be kind of moving this along and getting us prepared here. Let me just throw this up there. Hey, that's me, Powell Chee. Okay, give me 2 minutes to start here. But the topic today will be due diligence. I'll just throw that up there. It will be due diligence. But let's, I like to start with where people are at, and like this is kind of like when you're doing these live stream things, you're like talking to yourself, right? And talking to yourself, I don't really find all that fun. So it's something that I like to engage with people. So tell me, where you guys are from. Where are you at? Where are you coming in from? I live in Los Angeles myself. I've been out in Los Angeles for, I guess it's almost 10 years. This is my second time around in Los Angeles. It's been about almost 10 years that I've been here. And so let me know whereabouts are you checking in from. Love to see that. And then we can go ahead and get started. And just for you guys to know that if you sign up on the thing, I don't know, there's a little link there and there. It tells you like if you go and sign up in that link, and I'll be able to see your name and your profile, and then I can talk to you in person rather than just Facebook user or something, like if it just says YouTube user, something like that. Okay. But okay, great. Looks like we got a couple people coming in. We got let's see, we got a friendly neighbor from Vancouver, BC. Okay, for somebody coming in from Canada. All right, welcome. Thank you for joining. And let's see, who else we got in here? Eric Upchurch, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, man? Out in Sarasota. Yeah, I wanted to be there. Yeah, I wish I could be there too as well. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome time you guys are going to have out there. So, but yeah, Eric's from NorCal. Yeah. And how about the rest of you? Let me know where you're coming from, and we'll go ahead and get started in about 1 minute here. Today's topic again is going to be due diligence. Okay. On-site due diligence. We're going to talk about what do you do on site when you get a property under contract. So the last couple of weeks we've talked about deals that I've had, kind of case studies and like the early part of it, putting them under contract, the negotiations, and then from there, what do you do once you get it under contract? Right, you got it under contract now. So let's talk about what do you do when you're on site. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let's see. We got Kago coming in from Torrance. What's up, buddy? How are you doing, man? Hiya. Kago and I just had a nice little lunch just a couple days ago, so that was good. Good to see you again, buddy. All right. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's get into the topics and everything. Let's start today. So let's start off today with talking about, today is September 15th, 2021. This is a self-storage investing live stream with Powell. This is my show number 6. Again, I don't really know how many of these I'm going to go to. I don't know. I put 006, just like I'm imagining myself get to 100, but truthfully, I don't really think I'll get that far. I don't know how many of these I'll do. I just do them for fun. I like doing them, and I enjoy talking to people about self-storage. So, but we'll see how this goes. But I like to put the dates in there just because a lot of times when you look at like when people record these, if it's like 3 or 4 years ago, the times could totally change. There was no COVID back then and all kinds of different stuff. So I always like to put the dates in there so that people understand, can put this in context. So let's get into the agenda. So the agenda is, you can see it scrolling below. Okay. So we're going to do the welcome. We're just doing the welcome right now. Topic again is going to be due diligence, talking about due diligence, on-site due diligence specifically, right? Get into some personal experience, and then we'll end with some Q&A. All right. Try to keep this, I will definitely keep this under an hour, but we'll try to keep this some like 45 minutes or so in between then and an hour. And so if you do have questions, I'd love for you to post those questions inside the chat, and then I'll be able to read them and answer their questions for you. Okay. But let me just give you a real quick about personal bio, just so you guys know who I am. So my name is Powell Chee, as you can see on the screen there. And I come from a multifamily background in terms of investing. So started in single family just really briefly, and then jumped into multifamily. I've been doing that for a number of years. Then once COVID hit, I really started to shift my focus to self-storage and looking at a different asset class. And that was just really because of the way I do multifamily is a little bit different than some other people do. But I knew that I wanted to explore a different asset class at that time. And I had the time because I wasn't going to buy any multifamily for at least 6 months right when COVID hit. So I spent the time figuring out the asset class, figuring out the underwriting of it, figuring out how do you evaluate it, what's the difference between multifamily and self-storage, what are the returns like, what's the management style like, what are the things that are different that you have to prepare for. What are the subtle differences? Sometimes they're not so, it's not like a major difference, but the emphasis is significantly different. I'll give you an example. It's be like your website. Your website on a multifamily property, it's kind of like one of those nice to haves. It's good to have, and you'll probably pay, if you have a big enough property, you'll pay somebody to do it and things like that. But it's not like a major thing that's super important. But when it comes to storage, your website is super important, and it's really important to have a great website. Okay. And probably to pay somebody, you don't want to do it for yourself, and people, you got to take money, you got to have people, customers kind of log in and see their accounts and things like that. So it's a much more complicated, it's more complicated, probably more important in storage than it is in multifamily. But so that all said, jumped into storage, put my first deal under contract basically about a year ago, and then closed it in January. So I closed that first one in January. Since then, put 3 more deals under contract and closed those all in July. So total 4 deals that we've closed so far. That's 6 properties because one of them is a portfolio. So one of them has three properties inside of it. And so total 4 closes in 2021, 6 properties. It's like over 150,000 square feet. And when you're talking about storage, you mostly talk about square feet, rentable square feet. Units, I mean, it's almost 1,300 units. Units is important, but it's not as important as square footage. Okay. That's a little bit about me, but I want to know also what's a little about you, in terms of like, what are you doing right now? This is something I always ask in my meetups, that whenever I have a meetup, I always ask people, what are you doing right now? Right? What are the things that you're doing that are pushing you forward in your investing career? So if you got something that you've been doing, let me know what you've been doing. Put it in the chat. I'll give you an example of what we're doing so that you can see if you're taking enough action, right? So I guess in the last week, we've probably analyzed 20 deals, probably about 20, maybe a little bit more, somewhere around 20 to 30 deals. We've sent 3 LOIs so far. I think 3 LOIs, maybe another one will go out tomorrow. We do have a verbal agreement on one of them, but so we feel pretty good about it. So we'll see. It's early, so it's still got a lot of negotiating to go with just a verbal agreement, but we've also did 1 on-site visit. So how about you? Like, let me know what you're doing. Because if you're not analyzing deals, if you're not sending out LOIs, then you're not going to be putting anything under contract, and you're not going to close any deals. And so, it all starts from there, like starting with analyzing deals. You got to analyze the deals. And then if you figure that there's a good enough chance that you can win one, then you're going to be sending some LOIs out, right? And then if you're not sending LOIs, again, you're not going to be able to put anything under contract. And if you're not putting under contract, then you're going to have a hard time closing any deals. So let me know what are the things that you've been doing. Love to hear about, the pace that you're at, and maybe I can help you in terms of, if there's any kind of pointers that I can give to you as well. All right. So, okay, all right. So let's get into the topic of due diligence. And before we get into that, just really quickly, if you do have a chance, I'd love it if you give me a little thumbs up or a like, just on the, on whatever platform you're looking at, whether that's YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn. give me a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm thing. I don't know. It does that. And it just kind of boosts my ego. I don't know, whatever. It's helpful and for some, computer reasons. If you would just give me a thumbs up and I'd like it. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So let's go ahead and get into due diligence. So what is due diligence, right? So due diligence is what we're talking about specifically is when you're on site. Okay, so you've already put the deal under contract, right? You've already gotten that far. All right, so we've already got it under contract. Now you got to visit the property. Now you may visit the property before you get it under contract. I tend to visit the property after I put it under contract. All right. So now I'm put it under contract. Probably in about 1 week, we're flying out there to the property. We're on site. And now we're here on site. What are we doing? Okay, that's what's called our on-site due diligence, right? Now, with our on-site due diligence, and one of the first things that we're looking at really is we're auditing the units. Okay, so we're taking an audit of the units, and this is a physical audit of the units. So in multifamily, you're probably going to go inside of each unit, right? You're going to each unit, and a bunch of them are going to be occupied. So you're going to be walking in where people are occupied, and you have to give them advance notice of when you're going to be inside of their apartment. In storage, it's a little different. You're taking an audit of the units that are not rented. Okay, so the units that are rented generally they all have locks on them, right? And so you don't really have the combination to those locks. They're not really your locks. Well, at least in my facilities, they're not my locks. They're the tenants' locks. So we don't have the combination to that, and we just can't just cut their lock to get in their unit. So you don't do that. You just assume it's being rented out, and you assume that somebody has some stuff in there. What you're taking an audit of is the physical units of all the other ones that are not rented, okay? And you're basically comparing it to the rent roll. And you're looking at the rent roll, and you're comparing it, and you're saying, okay, these units, first of all, which ones are not occupied? And you're going to look at them, open up the door, look inside, and then you're deciding, you're evaluating each unit. Is it ready to be, is it rent ready, right? Are these units rent ready? Now that, if they're rent ready, then great. You can start to rent them out right away, right? If they're not rent ready, then why are they not rent ready? You're taking an evaluation of them. What needs to be fixed? Sometimes it's the door needs to be fixed. The door doesn't shut all the way. The door is banged up or broken. It comes off the railing. Or maybe it's the hasp, which is, the place where the lock connects. And the hasp is broken, or it's rusted, or something that doesn't work. You need a new one, or it's off, it's loose or something. So maybe it's the hasp. You need to fix that. But you need to do an audit. Maybe it's dirty. You just don't want to rent it out because it's dirty. So you want to get an idea of what it is, right? And take that physical audit. And that's one of the very first things that you're doing is looking at looking at each one of those units. All right. Let's take a look at what else are you looking at when you're there? All right. So we're looking at common areas of the property. All right. Now what we're talking about here, I'm talking about the office. I'm talking about sometimes they have an apartment, right? Now, when you're looking at an office or an apartment, I probably should have just pulled up some pictures of some apartments. Yeah, I have some. But a lot of times a facility, these self-storage facilities will have an apartment built into them. So that the on-site manager may live there, right? May actually live there. So, and that helps with either you have somebody on site that can take care of things if there's an emergency, or can maybe help with security, or just going to be your eyes on the property, right? Now, for us, we don't really have a person in the office. We don't man the office or man the apartment, so those become basically empty for us. And so it's for us, we're doing an audit on them to figure out what we want to do with them, right? So we're going to turn them into some type of revenue generating project, right? That's what we're going to do. So that means we're basically going to take it over. We're going to turn it into some type of self-storage, or maybe even just rent it out as an office for somebody else, right? It depends on how it's all situated and how it's all built. All right. You're taking a look at, so what other common areas, things that you're looking at, right? Reserve units, right? So there's other reserve units, and I would say equipment that may be left behind, right? So you're looking at what equipment is out there. We have We have, lock cutters, bolts, all kinds of, ladders and things like that. But there's also things like golf carts. The building buys a golf cart, and so you have a golf cart, and you need to take an audit of your golf cart, right? Because that's part of your property that you're going to be buying. All right, and so how about other things and common area type of things? Driveways. So you're looking at the driveway. You're looking, some of them they're all different material, right? Sometimes the concrete. Sometimes the driveways are asphalt. Sometimes they're gravel. Sometimes they're dirt, right? And depending on where you are at and what time of year it is, there might be snow all over the place. So that's another thing you have to deal with, and snow. So you're evaluating your driveway and that access, right? And how comfortable it is for your tenants. How nice does it look? How much needs to be fixed, right? Any repairs? So you're looking at things like that, your common areas. Other common things that you're looking for, I would say, are like bollards. I don't know if you guys know what bollards are, but bollards are those poles that are basically into the ground. They're secured into the ground so that they're usually at corners or at key spots in the facility, so that cars don't run into the building, right? Because if a car hits the building, these are just, these aren't. Sometimes they're just metal buildings, so they'll just dent in, right? A car just bumps into it. So you put bollards there. You put these little concrete or filled poles or steel poles there in the ground, so that if it hit it, it's going to damage their car and damage the bollard and not damage your building, right? But after a while, those bollards, they start to get rusty. The paint chips off, all kinds of different things. They kind of look ugly, right? So you got to look at your bollards. It could be something to fix there as well, right? You're looking at the overall paint. So you're looking at the envelope of the property. What is the feel of it? Does it look like, oh, it's tired, it's old, it's been, property's like 25, 30 years old, hasn't been painted or hasn't been cleaned, so it looks really dull, right? You're looking for things like that. Let's see, you're looking for walls. So a lot of times your walls, you're looking for damage on your walls because people have run into the walls. They take a lot of beating. Sometimes there's graffiti on the walls, right? You gotta prepare for all that kind of stuff and look at what you need to do to clean that stuff up. So those are some of the, I forgot, doors, right? So you're looking at doors, and I mean the roll-up doors, or sometimes you have swing doors, but you're looking at those to figure out if they're in good condition or not, right? Because those doors tend to be one of the more expensive things that you could have to replace. So if you have to replace 30 doors and they're like $600 to $800 each, right? That ends up being a big chunk of money that you need to know ahead of time when you're doing your due diligence that you need to fix this. Okay. All right. So let's talk about what else. What else do we have here? Due diligence. We're talking about security system. Okay. So when you're looking at the security system, this is one thing that you got to get a sense of. And when I'm talking about security system, it's not just one thing, it's a bunch of different things. So first thing is like your video, right? You're looking at what type of video recording system do they have already? Do they have any, do they have any type of video recording? If they do, what does it look like? Where are the monitors at? Where are the cameras at, right? How many of them? What do they look like at nighttime? Are they working? Are they old? Like technology nowadays or these video cameras is so much better than it was 5 or 10 years ago. So maybe it's time to upgrade them. Are they wireless? Are they not? Are they wired? Are they connected to the internet, or are they just connected to just a local, kind of a closed circuit? Right. Those are things you're going to look at in the video. You're looking for lighting. Lighting is super important. Okay. So lighting, you're looking at how much lighting comes in. There might be big type of floodlights, right? That you have like on the poles that, just showing a lot of light. Some people we've tried solar lights, little like solar lights that are motion detection, things like that. There's also just LED, like, the newer LED lights that are a little more like, I would say like they have like a wide spectrum of where they're able to shine. So you want to look at those lights. Lights become super important. And I would tell you, you want to look at lights also at night. So when you're doing your on-site due diligence, you might do it during the day, and you might say, okay, well, they got lighting here, they got lighting here, and they got a floodlight over there. So I guess that's good. Well, you don't really know. So whenever we do our due diligence, we are going to, we're going to look at night. We're going to go there during the daytime, do all that due diligence, but we're going to come back at night, and we're going to see what it's like at night. We're going to see if it's enough where somebody feels comfortable to come there and feel safe, right? The gates. So along with security, you're looking at the gates, right? So you're looking at, okay, are they damaged? Are they working order? Are they swing gates? We have one that's a lift gate, so it lifts like vertically. We have ones that go open up, like a sliding gate. You want to find out if they're manual, right? Or are they automatic? Sometimes they're manual and somebody has to open these things up. Or sometimes they're automatic, right? You got to figure out what that is. You're going to look at who's the provider. If they are automatic, who's the provider and who can service these things. You're looking at your boxes, so your gate code, your boxes, so you have gate codes on there. For us, we use a wireless one, so we have to hook that thing up to the internet. So it has to hook up to the internet so that when people punch in their code, we know who's punching in what code, and we know what person is using what code and what code they're punching in, and it recognizes all that stuff. So we know who's going into our facility. We know at what time. We know what code they pushed. We know if they pushed the wrong code. All kinds of different things like that. Along that is fencing too. Fencing is another thing of security wise, right? You want to have, not every facility has fencing, right? Sometimes in more type of rural settings, they don't have fencing, or even some areas, they just don't have fencing, right? And so it's not a mandatory thing, but it is something that if they do have fencing, you want to take a look at it and see if it's, it's set up well, if there's no cuts in the, there's no cuts where people like cut the fence and things like that. All right. So yeah. And by the way, like I know I'm going through a bunch of different due diligence and things. If you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat so I can we can answer some questions about due diligence and things like that. All right. So what other things do we talk about in due diligence? So water issues. Okay. So water tends to be a big thing, right? So people don't want their stuff getting wet, right? Obviously they don't want their stuff get wet. So you have to look for water, and water becomes a big issue, especially depending on where you're located. Our properties are all located like in the Gulf, kind of like the Gulf area. So Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. So they're all kind of can be affected by hurricanes, things like that. So water is a big issue. So when we're there, we're looking at drainage and like, what does the drainage look like, right? And it's hard to see, sometimes, well, we've been to properties when it's raining. And so then it's a great time to see what the drainage looks like. And if water is pooling somewhere, where is it pooling? Is it pooling in the proper places? Like probably like the middle, like, if the facility has like downslope, so it comes down in the middle and the water comes in the little channel and then goes to a drain. Well, then that's what you want to see. But even if it's not raining and you go up to visit when it's not raining, a lot of times you're looking for marks. You're looking for watermarks all over the place. So you're looking for watermarks on the concrete, on the asphalt. You're looking for if there's any watermarks on the walls or on the doors, right? Because that could say like, hey, the water level came up that high, right? So you're looking for things like that for watermarks, right? You're looking for runoff. When the downspouts come down, where is the water running to, right? Is it just draining, into somebody's unit? That sometimes it does. It like points to people's units, or is it pointing like in a way that's going to help the water just flow out from your facility? You're looking for detention ponds, right? So you need to have some type of where does the water go? Like, does it go to the street to the city sewer? Or does it go to like some little ditch where there's, it can retain some water there before it goes into the city sewer? These are detention ponds, so do you have a detention pond? These are things that just you need to take into consideration and look for when you're out there. All right. What else? What else in terms of due diligence? Signage. Signage. Okay. So what we're talking about signage here. We're looking for improvements on signage, right? Is the signage, is it big enough? Can you see it from the street? Can you see a phone number? What information are you putting on there? Is it bright? Is it new? Can we put something better there, right? We generally like we want to have radiant storage and we want to have a big phone number there, right? We don't. Maybe when you get up closer, you can have like the internet or your website, things like that. But you want to have something on your signage that tells people who you are, how they can get in contact with you. There's different types of signage. There's banners. Banners are pretty easy. You can put banners on your fence. You can hang banners on your walls. There's other things like monument signage. So it's a little more of a permanent fixture. Maybe you're looking for a permanent fixture to put out in front, like a nice one. Maybe it's lit up. Maybe it has a landscaping around it, things like that. So those are considerations you want to do, especially if you're rebranding the facility. Which in my case, we're always rebranding the facility, and so that's a consideration because it's going to be a cost. There's going to be a cost to that, right? Okay. How about, I didn't mention this, but obviously I think it's pretty self-evident. You got to look at the roofs, right? There are certain things that you got to look for, right? Your roofs, you're looking, that's an important piece because like the rain part coming down, obviously it can really affect your tenant's experience there if there's holes and things like that. So generally you want to have an inspection done, and you want to probably have contractors, roofers come out there and give you an estimate of like how much repair needs to be done on the property and whether that's repair or replacement. And then you want to get the costs of like what that would be, right? Because that information is not just for you. Your lender's going to want to know that. If you have any investors, they're probably going to want to know that. Sometimes these metal roofs, the screws just get loose because they just screw them down, right? You screw them down. You have a little washer or flange there, like a rubber flange there that keeps water out. But after a while, after years, those things kind of just untwist, and that flange may just kind of fall off or deteriorate, and water leaks through there. So you need to do some maintenance and get those done and re-screw them down and put a new flange on there. So that's things that you might need to do instead of just actually replacing the roof. You might need some maintenance on it. All right. Let's see. What else do we got here? So I feel like I'm buzzing through a bunch of these things, but let me see. Due diligence, third parties. Okay, there are third parties that you probably want to get involved, right? So for us, we're getting a number of different third parties involved because we want to talk to them and see what they think about the property and seeing if they're seeing what we're seeing, right? So our property manager is one. We want to get our property manager out there to visit with us so that we can talk to them about what do they see, what do they like about this, what do they like about the area, what do they think about the renters, do they think that this facility is in a good area that can support the rent levels that we're projecting, things like that, because they're going to have to be the ones that are going to have to execute this stuff. So the property manager, you want to meet them out there. Somebody to do a market analysis, right? Now, we're going to do our own market analysis, but it's nice to have somebody that you're going to pay and they're going to do a market analysis as well, right? So that you can find out if what you're thinking is going to happen is actually going to happen, or or just to just get a second pair of eyes on the property and figure out if what you're thinking is correct. All right. And when they do a market analysis, for us, it's always something that we pay for, right? So it's not something that's free. We pay for it and we get it done, and it's a couple $1,000s. I'm just trying to think of they're going to look at climate controlled. They're going to look at what's the competition level in the area. What are the rent levels in the area? How far away are other competitors? Are the competitors A class? Are they B class? Are they C class? What does that mean compared to you? Are you A class, B class, or C class? Are you climate controlled or not? Do you have parking? Things like that. How hard are you to get to? Are you on a main road, or are you off on a secondary street? A lot of those things. The market analysis also might be able to tell you, depending on who you get it to do it, they might be able to tell you what else is in the pipeline coming up, and that's a big consideration as far as there's construction going on, or there are plans for construction going on of other facilities coming online. And that's something that's important to know. Okay. All right. All right. So we've blazed through a bunch of different things of due diligence. Yeah. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Let me know what questions that you have. And while I'm taking a second here to just pull up some questions, if you do have a chance, if you would give me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate that. And give me a thumbs up. And if you're interested in partnering, I know some people have asked me about this. If you're interested in partnering, or at least knowing like what deals that I have, and you'd like to see those kind of things, there's a link in the description. You can fill out the form, and then you'll be notified of when I have a deal. Okay. Let's see. So let's see. Hey, Cameron McNulty. Hey, great to see you. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate you showing up. Let's see. So at this point, the due diligence, just to recap, you're doing on-site visit, audit of the units. You're looking at the different common areas. You're looking at the security system. You're looking at for water issues. You're looking at for signage, the roofs, and third parties that are involved. Right. Now, some of you, okay, looks like I'll get into some Q&A here. So, all right, so here's a question. Okay, so the question is, let's see, I can't put it up for some reason. All right. The question is, what about electrical and plumbing? Right, and that's a good question. So we look at that stuff, electrical and plumbing, but first of all, with plumbing, there's not much plumbing that goes on in storage, right? All the plumbing goes to the office, and we don't have anybody in the office, so we don't really need any plumbing, right? So that's like, all right, so we don't really need to spend that much time on plumbing, and plumbing isn't really a big thing for us anyway, right? Let's see, and I like to say this example to people just so that they know kind of where we're coming from. So if in a typical property, I don't know, like I've took one of my properties in multifamily, it's not even a big property. It's like 40 units. And I have to cover the water. Water is like, I don't know, it's like $1,200 to $2,000, depending on the time of year, a month. That's a month that I have to, basically have to pay, or I have to have the tenants pay, that kind of stuff. So you're looking at $1,200 to $2,000 a month in water bills, probably another $1,500, $1,200 in electrical bills a month. That's per month. In storage, our facility is 20,000 square foot. That water bill the first month was $30, right? 30 for 1 month. And I think of the second month, it may have been like $7. And after that, I think we shut it off. So I don't even think we have a water bill anymore. Or maybe we keep it on just to have the meter there or something. But I don't know, maybe we pay $15 or something. It's something under $30 a month that we're paying for water, right? Electrical, I think, like I said, at my apartment's paying like $1,500 a month. The electrical at my facility is like $300. I think it's $300 or $400 a month, right? So much less cheap, much less expensive, much cheaper than multifamily. So the inspection is part of it. The due diligence part of it is not as, so there's not much to do in terms of the plumbing, right? And in terms of the electrical, yes, we have an inspector take a look at it, and if needs be, then we reach out to an electrician to help us with some of the lighting, or maybe the gates, right? Maybe the gates are automatic, and maybe the lighting down the driveways needs to be fixed, things like that. But it's not much. It's very little compared to multifamily. So, okay, Kago. See you on here, buddy. You said, what is the typical time frame for due diligence on self-storage? So great question. So when we're talking about typical time frame on self-storage, all right, this all has to be done in, for us, like 1 day, right? So we get out there, we look at the property. We're doing this all in one day. We're probably doing it in one either morning or afternoon. The rest of the morning or afternoon is spent doing mystery shopping, right? So getting out and visiting the comparables, looking at the comps, looking at people's other facilities and figuring out whether or not, what they look like and what your competition levels are like. So all of this has to be done early on. And so it takes a little bit of planning and it takes a little bit of like hustle to get all this done. But this is what we're doing when we're out there. Great question. Appreciate that, Kago. Okay, so let's see. What other questions do we have? Any other questions that we have? Let me see. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Just kind of scrolling through. I don't really see many other questions. I guess everybody's due diligence. Everybody knows what to do. That's good because like sometimes it takes a little while to figure out what you need to do on the due diligence. Okay, let's see. Hey, we got a comment from Tim. Tim, hey, thanks for joining, Tim. What model do I use for underwriting? Okay, so underwriting is a whole nother topic. I didn't even talk about underwriting really on the due diligence, but for sure I'll answer your question here. So we use our own. So we have a proprietary one. So it's one that we built our own. So basically my business partner, we built one for multifamily and we used it for multifamily, and that's what we've been using the whole time. Then when we started evaluating storage, we built a different one for storage. It's kind of an ever evolving process, but it's, I would say that, you can, I wouldn't use the exact same one that you're using for multifamily, but it's a good place to start, right? So whatever one you're using in multifamily, if you have a professional one or one that you're very comfortable with, you can use it for storage. Just understand that there's probably going to be some differences and some places that you're going to need to add or you're going to need to remove things. So just for example, like things like in storage, you're going to need to be able to put places of different types of income, right? So you're going to have climate controlled, and then you're going to have 5 different unit sizes, right? So you're going to have a bunch of different sizes, 5 by 5, 5 by 10, 10 by 20, 10 by 10, 10 by 15. You're going to have all these different unit sizes, and they're all going to be climate controlled. And then you're going to have all of those same sizes or even more, and they're all going to be non-climate controlled, and it's going to be a different price, right? And you're going to need to those are different. Like you don't want to just, you can kind of lump them all together for some things, but when you're really evaluating whether or not you're going to be able to improve your facility and you need to get really granular, you're going to need to know the difference between what is climate controlled, what's not climate controlled, right? And then what are other sources of income that you might be getting? So you might have parking, right? You might have covered parking, right? And that's different, right? There's covered parking and there's parking, right? And there's just open air parking. So those are differences in terms of like the ways you're bringing in income. Now you're going to need to have all that on your spreadsheet. And sometimes on your spreadsheet, on your multifamily spreadsheet, you're not going to have all that, right? So those are different places that you need to add in those types of things. And then a lot of times you're looking at square footage, right? So again, you're looking at square footage. You're not looking at units as much as you are in multifamily. So just be aware of that you got to be aware of calculating things like cost per square foot, dollar per square foot, what's the square footage of my property. Those are other things. Okay. But good question, Tim. Thanks for asking. So if you have any other questions, feel free to write them in there. Definitely would appreciate you guys giving me a thumbs up or asking any questions here. Let's see. Got another one from Kago here. Kago, let's see. Now that you've taken down a handful of deals, have there been any unique situations or items that have come up during due diligence that you now look for in every deal moving forward? So let me just answer this with a little bit of a story here. So on our very first deal, I guess whenever you're doing due diligence, it's always like there's like stories like to do, right? You're learning, you're just kind of learning about what you're doing and how to do it and how to overcome obstacles. So our first one is Baton Rouge, right? In Baton Rouge, and we were out there. First of all, there was no rental cars available in the whole city of Baton Rouge. And you're kind of like, the whole city. I mean, this is the capital of Louisiana. There's no rental cars available. There was none. Now, sure, there was Uber and stuff like that, but when you're driving around, you have to go to different comparables and all over the place. You're not really taking an Uber, and you're not really looking like you're mystery shopping if you're getting dropped off from somebody's Uber, right? So that wasn't really going to be a way to go. So we couldn't find any rental cars. And we couldn't find any rental cars. We're like, how are we going to get out and visit, our property? How are we going to look at it at night? All this kind of thing. So what we did is we rented a U-Haul. So we went to like a U-Haul, and we got a U-Haul truck with like a box truck, and we were driving around in our U-Haul box truck, doing our comparables. And so we went there at night, and when we went there at night, we, used our gate code. We knew the code. We got in. And so there's 3 of us, and we're just, going around the facility, looking at the lights and looking at, how, what does the security look like at night? And then about 10 minutes into it, in comes the police. And the police come rolling in really fast, like, hey, we caught you. You guys are going to try to run away or anything. And so police came up. They thought they caught us like red-handed, and they thought they were gonna like bust us and stuff like that. But we told them, we said, hey, we have this property under contract. We're about to buy this property, and so we showed them our purchase and sale agreement. We showed them, I don't know, all kinds of different documents, and they're actually really cool. They were really cool, and it was pretty funny because I was doing a Facebook Live at that time, so I don't know. You can go back and look at my different Facebook Lives. And I was doing a Facebook Live literally when the cops came up. Now, I didn't put them on the camera because it's a pretty sensitive time around with police and being on camera and things like that. So I'm sure they didn't really want to be on camera. But I did get a chance to talk to them afterwards. They were super cool. They talked to us about the property. They were saying about the area. It was good to know that people would call the police if they saw suspicious activity, right? Some people in the self-storage facility, looking like they don't belong there or something. And the police said the good area is good. It's growing. It's a real nice area. There's a lot of development around there. The policeman had lived there for 25 years or so. And so talked to us about different hurricanes that came through. So we talked about hurricane, this hurricane, that hurricane. Does this area flood? He gave us the confirmations that, hey, this area doesn't really flood. That other areas of Baton Rouge may have flooded, but not here. It doesn't flood. So that just gave us more, more confidence and everything. And actually, he was real nice. So he stayed with us the whole time until we had our Uber come pick us up, which the Uber person was probably like, this is kind of weird picking you guys up. Put the police right here. Probably didn't want to pick us up at that time, but so that was pretty fun. And actually, that's the second time. That's the first time I met the police during a due diligence. There was actually been another time at another property that I just closed in July. And when we were out there in April or May, we got pulled over again by the police for a different thing. But so it seems like every time I do the due diligence, I'm encountering the police. So, but to answer your question, Kago, yes. And in terms of like unique situations, so you're just kind of adding them to the list. So a lot of things that I had already brought up with lighting, drainage, water issues, right? Knowing that, hey, now we're out at a facility and it's raining over here, right? And it's good to know, like, what the water drainage situation is like. So, good question. Appreciate you asking there, Kago. Okay, so that all said, I think we're about time here. So unless anybody has any last questions, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. But I'm trying to do these live streams on Wednesdays. First, I started on Tuesdays, but made a little deal with my wife, and so I'm going to try to do them on Wednesdays instead. And yeah, if you do have any questions, I would or any topic suggestions, I would love for you to go ahead and reach out to me and tell me what topic suggestions you have. I'm happy to discuss them as well. And then we'll look to you on a future deal, or a future deal on a future self-storage investing live stream is really what I meant to say. So that all said, I appreciate all your time. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions or topic suggestions, and I will see you all next week. Thanks, everybody.